Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to your IKYA Community Open House. My name is Andy. I'm your operations manager here at the IKYA Center in Oslo, Norway.
My name is Nora. I work with Ganapati coordinating here at the center.
And I'm Ina, and I'm a Ganapati, which is a study group, leader, not sort of the co-student, so to speak.
Yeah. Warm welcome. Tonight's open house has a focus on our second sort of flagship study with IKYA Mantra. So IKYA Crystal has already begun, not too late to sign up, but tonight's focus is going to be on IKYA Mantra, another way to study spirituality, life, and yourself. Now, we just wanted to first welcome you guys in, but we have a little surprise for you. We're actually going to sing a mantra together to start, to get you guys really into and to feel what it is to sing an IKYA Mantra, to meditate together. So in this mantra, we actually do not sing in unison. You sing at your own pace, so that the idea is that in the room here and kind of around the world on Zoom and YouTube, we will all be singing at our own pace. So there will be a continuous sound. So it's not singing together and then breathing and then singing again. We're all singing continuously. So just follow your own pace. Do not try to follow any of us. And we will also try to keep separate paces so that there's a continuous sound the entire time.
Yes.
So tonight's mantra, the students who are in the current mantra course that is just finishing up will recognize it. It was one mantra ago. Su. It's S-U, pronounced Su. And we sing it like that. Su. So you start with the S to make that real S sound, and then you move into the U. And again, we're going to sing, like for example, I'll start, and then Nora will start a second or two later, and then Ina a second or two after that. Same thing for you, that when we sing together, it will be a cycling of continuous sound. But IKYA wanted us to tune into the mantra before we begin singing. So I'm going to invite you to already close your eyes and consider that Su is an old sacred mantra that vibrates divine love, flow, and service. This mantra is not just about being in flow, but about living and creating from flow. So it opens your heart as well as giving you direction and purpose. So bring your focus now to your heart and your heart connection to divine flow. And as we sing tonight, we invite you to feel the state of service to life and the dedication to being an instrument for light and truth in the world. Remember that you will sing the mantra Su in your own rhythm, so the sound of all of us around the world together becomes one continuous sound. And we'll sing together for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to move into silent meditation and reflection for some minutes more, and then we'll invite you to continue in meditation, and IKYA will come in and complete the meditation when he opens the open house teaching. So already now sort of extend your spine, your physical spine, as you extend upward, really trying to make contact with the highest consciousness available to you. And then we'll begin to sing. And remember to sing at your own rhythm. Su. And complete your final su. And as you complete, move into silent reflection, meditation. And again, bring your focus to your heart and to your connection to divine flow. Now remain in silent meditation and reflection, allowing yourself to go deeper into love, deeper into the heart. And IKYA will join us and end the meditation when he begins tonight's open house teaching.
Manifested existence is a set of vibrational waves. The reason why we experience anything as matter is because of our own resistance to the vibrational information. And it will always show the distance between our current state of consciousness and the next step. An expansion is whenever you're able to cancel a resistance. And think of it, the more resistance you have, the smaller your space will be. And it kind of works like sound cancellation or noise cancellation. When you have a sound, right, and then you have something else, being able to produce or replicate the exact same sound waves, that sound will be canceled. And that is what spiritual expansion is. again and again and again. And if you think of the fabric of the universe being trillions upon trillions of different vibrational informations, they're all waving and weaving, and it becomes this. But what you experience is the distance that you have towards that, the absolute truth, the objective reality. And when you are tuning yourself, tuning your instrument, it's about you and the matrix and the fabric that you are becoming the same. But you do it one thread at a time, because there are so many. And whenever one little thread is starting to vibrate the same, it gets canceled. And then your space gets a little bigger. Your consciousness grows because now you do not have resistance. This is what we, in spiritual work, refer to as harmony. You then wave, like, you're vibing in that particular string or that thread, the same as the universe. And then it's the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And the challenge today is that we have so many disharmonies. Our civilization is in a very strange place, because when you are out in nature, for instance, think of nature and life forms, when they are in harmony with the ecosystem, that also becomes an orchestra of harmony. And evolution, both spiritual and physical, dictates that the space you're in, you will immediately try to adapt to it. Right? So that's when you are with a group of people. Give it a few hours and you will try to become like them. You can't stop. So when you are in nature and that is in harmony, that's when you feel more harmonized, more balanced. Because everything in your matrix will start to tune itself to nature. And then you can feel it. Oh, all right, I'm more in harmony, I'm more tuned. Our civilization right now is in a very strange place, because we will always try to adjust ourselves to the dominant space. So when you go out in nature and you can feel nature, you will begin to adapt to it. You will feel that harmonization. So it needs to have a domineering presence of what is in tune. For instance, if you're in an orchestra and they're all tuned, when you start playing, you will immediately hear that you are out of tune and you will begin to adjust, right? What if 80% of them are out of tune? What will you try to tune yourself to? This civilization now is like having kind of two people drawing a map of a forest. And they're just like seeing it from their balcony, right? And they're just drawing their map. And they say, well, this can be improved. So they start comparing their maps. So their maps become more comprehensive. And because both of them now agree that these are beautiful maps, because now contain both, this must be true, they're even more in the wrong. Because they compare the maps to themselves instead of nature. And this is what happens when disharmony begins to use disharmony as a tuning fork. And suffering is ultimately you insisting that your map is right. Because when you have made this a wonderful map and everyone agrees this is true, when you then go out in nature, both people will say, well, that wasn't there before. Who done this? Like, this is plain wrong, right? This is not supposed to be here. And then, of course, you will fall over. You will stumble into things because they're not on your map, and it will be nature's fault. And this is suffering. So it comes to a point when humans start to believe the human narratives, the human approach. They use their own beliefs to confirm their own beliefs. And then we start to spiral off. And we produce more and more suffering, more and more pain, and we become more and more destructive. Because we don't compare our map to reality anymore. We compare it to each other. Because the fight about who's got the right map will make everyone more concerned about, well, we should listen to everybody's maps. It becomes more comprehensive, more noisy, and everyone is suffering. Then we think, well, it's because we haven't compared enough maps. And this is where we are in this civilization. So now humans are mass producing suffering at a whole new level. And humans are less and less able to listen to nature. Because that's basically been canceled as a source of truth. If you listen to nature, then you're the weirdo. Right? And the thing is, you can't stop it from happening because evolution dictates that whatever space you're in, you will try to adapt. Your body will adjust to it as truth. And this is a challenge spiritually when we want to wake up. Because the human world today will pull you out of your center, out of any harmony you have, into more illusion, more pain, and more suffering. And even when you then understand, oh, all right, the world is out of tune, then you will become aggressive towards the world. So you produce even more disharmony and unhealth in yourself. And this is why we need spiritual practices now more than ever. The idea that, well, I know what truth is, so sure, you can look at the forest, but your map is still wrong. What you think you know does not help you. This is often why when it comes to spiritual work, when we believe that I know stuff, I've figured things out, according to my map, right? It will lead to suffering. As I always say, seeking truth and being right are opposites to very different things. And yet the human mind wants to be right. Because when it's a competition of who's got the right map, you want to be right. But interacting with this in the world is affecting you. It is creating illness, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's limiting your consciousness. And then you seek truth from there. So what do you listen to when all you can hear is noise? We need spiritual practices. And it's important that you also understand how radical spiritual practices can actually be in your life, your awakening and your healing. Because you cannot use your human point of experience, your human point of observation for anything anymore. You have to transcend. And gradually you will have to ascend, meaning that you completely are able to move past the human narrative and the human maps. Because you're able to interact with nature without any maps, without the need to create one, because you're in harmony with it. When you look at indigenous people, right, and tribes living in the jungle and nature, do they use maps? Do they need it? They can walk through the jungle with deadly insects and animals and everything. Everything wants to kill you at all times. And yet nothing happens. Because when you are in harmony Nature operates as one. You are part of life in that jungle. You're not a human in it. The greatest illusion is that we see ourselves as separate. And separation is a base idea of the individual. I always say when you can start a sentence or have the word I or me in the sentence, you're already off. Life is oneness. It's one enormous spiritual ecosystem of life. And when you are in harmony with it, when you're attuned, all life will behave as one. But we have to tune our instrument in a very different way today than we did before. And this is also the key to understanding the IKYA Mantras and what we're doing here. Because the human journey today is very different from what it used to be 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. It's different karma. And it's a different part of the evolutionary journey of humans. And you chose to incarnate as a human at this point because your journey, your karma, your awakening is a perfect fit to where the human life form is in its own evolution. So we can't necessarily look to the past. If someone came to you and said, you know, from the 1850s and said, we have like state of the art, you know, horse carriage, right? Better suspension, more comfortable, you know, you can drive from New York to Massachusetts in 3 days, right? And it's just wonderful and it's so easy to replace horses and whatever. And so like, I drive a car. So this is the perfect solution to a problem you don't have. And by the way, you need to have that gearbox replaced. A lot of spiritual practices are like that. They are born and introduced to this world based on the collective consciousness and the journey of the time. And your karma is not the one of horse and carriage. It's more changing the gearbox. So we need practices that are adjusted to the journey of today, and that points forward, not to the past. Because the past is not a destination, it's where you're coming from. And when you're here, it's because you've already been there. Not necessarily on this planet, but you've been through that part of your own evolution. So we need practices and tools that can point forward. And that includes the belief systems of the past, the framework, the whole kind of pretext of practices may not be productive today. It's wonderful if you want to ride a horse. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But often that's for a different reason. If you ride a horse today, it's not because you're going somewhere. It's because you're not. You're just enjoying the ride, you know, because you want a slow pace and want to, you know. Riding around in horse and carriage today is wonderful, right? But you don't get to work that way. And so it is with many of the practices from the past. They're lovely. They're really lovely, but will not bring you to higher states of awakening. So we need tools that can do the job now, so that you can do the job now. As anyone knows in true spiritual work, spiritual awakening is not, first of all, a joyride. Although we all hope it to be, right? It's not that. But when we've chosen enough horse and carriage practices, and that's our introduction to spiritual work, we start to believe that those lovely, you know, little rides in the park, and that's what spiritual work is, because it feels so wonderful. It's a break from daily life. So then we're surprised when we begin the work. And it's not just the work, but the work you have to put in to get there. We need different tools. And we need today to be prepared for even more work. When we feel that living today is a huge challenge, right? It's more stressful. We're mass producing imbalances and suffering at a rate we've never seen before. It may look comfortable on the surface, but the level to which people are self-medicating, numbing themselves, running away, it's all we do because it's too painful. And then the joyride just seemed like the right thing to do. Right? Because we're used to, I need a break. Ooh, a little yoga. Oh, that was nice. Right? A little meditation. Ooh, beautiful. And then you go back to your life and nothing has changed. And that's okay. But over time, it will lead you to more confusion, more suffering, because you thought it would work. Today on this planet, we have to wake up as humans first to realize that the spiritual journey is something else than we think it is. If you want to wake up for real and not just numb yourself, not just have, a break from a mass-produced suffering, it takes a different level of effort. And working with me, I will not only show you how, I will assist you in any way possible so you can get the results. But you still have to, do the work yourself. You still have to practice. You still have to get skilled in also recognizing your own growth, your healing, and also how you're not growing, if that's the case. So you may adjust your practices and approaches. Because it's all about the results, it's not about the practices in and of themselves. And this is what we're doing. Mantras have always existed. They exist everywhere. And many of the mantras we work with, they're old, but on this planet, most of them have been, secret. Because they've not been part of the collective consciousness, and therefore, it's been wise to not introduce them. It's a different time now. And the tradition we're part of is a huge tradition in many places. What we're doing is exploring what is. Trying to go beyond the subjective bubble of self, the subjective bubble of consciousness, and start to connect with what actually is. Not what we want it to be. Then you cannot use any maps, beliefs, assumptions. You have to try to get past that. And then build your consciousness there. And then wake up here. So we're not running away. You're connecting higher so that you may use that to heal here. So you may tune yourself in your life here. So you grow beyond suffering, beyond the human space, while still being here. Because then you may be present to life in other people as a tuning fork. So when you get to the point where you are not affected by the spaces, where human evolution no longer instructs you, other humans are still there. So when you vibrate truth, when you vibrate clarity and love and healing, and you are not at all affected by the human consciousness, you become the space other people may adjust themselves to. You understand? Because the rules of evolution still apply to them. And thereby, your presence will assist people closer to what is and out of their suffering and out of their noise without them even knowing it. You don't have to proclaim anything. Your presence is that of nature, of clarity, and the rest happens dictated by the rules of evolution. And this is part of the goal, or one of the many goals in this work. It's not just so you may set yourself free. It's so your presence may set other people free too. So they may find the truth within themselves. They may connect to what is through what they already are. So they may tune their own instrument. But they can only do so when they're a powerful presence of the tuning fork. So when you reach that clarity and when you're really doing the work in yourself, you will begin to have that effect. Not because you claim, not because, you're trying or want to convince anyone. It's simply that clarity becoming a stronger presence than the chaos and the disharmony in the human culture. It's needed today. So spiritual work does not end with you. And you should not have the goal of it just affecting yourself. It has to be service. It has to be about affecting others. Be part of lifting. And working with mantras is one of the easiest ways you may tune yourself. How a mantra works is that it's a key that unlocks one specific door. It's not just about the sound in itself, but it's what the mantra is connected to. A mantra has, been part of an evolutionary process. It doesn't come from nothing. It's a recognition of vibration and how that is turned into a practice and a sound that will attune you to that particular thing. And just like on this planet, with some of the mantras that are more known, it's taken thousands of years to kind of refine and get to the point that it opens that door. And think of it, if life is like a house, it contains many different spaces. If you have a key that opens the door to a kind of grand dining hall, right? The experience that you may have there is very different from the key opening the, restroom, right? So when you go into the bathroom, it's a different experience than going into the grand dining hall, and hopefully you're doing different things in those two spaces, I don't know you very well, so, but I would assume, and it's like, because we become the space. So it means that when you're in a certain space, how that reflects you, how it activates you, that will become what you're working on, right? So in the dining hall, you may practice your, conversation skills, eating with utensils, enjoying food, whatever it is. In the bathroom, not so much, right? There will be other things. You'll do your business and maybe have a long, hard look at yourself in the mirror, and doubt your life choices. And then you put on some more makeup to cover them, So it's like different journeys in different spaces, which is how we get to know ourselves, because it's not everything at once. If it was, it's like if you have a piano and you pressed all the keys on the piano at the same time for efficiency. It's not what it's about. It's about having all those keys so you can express yourself and express the music, and every time something is activated, that becomes the experience. Right? So we need different spaces, different levels of consciousness, different strings, different fabrics and tapestries. And when we use mantras, they unlock certain spaces of spiritual significance that will then begin to mirror you in a certain way. Again, the spaces we have today are different. The dining rooms are different, the bathrooms are different, everything is different. So we need mantras that can work with those realities and also assist us to deal with the world. Because the challenge today is we have to be here. You have incarnated here, because this is as close to truth as you can possibly come. And that means that the distance between you and truth will be shown, and that is your life in front of you. And your dissonance and how you insist that your map should be right is what is causing you pain and sometimes confusion. And it's challenging. So in this work, we emphasize also mastering our physical reality. We're not running away from it. We're working on achieving clarity and harmony in such a way that we then can bring that into our lives. That's when we begin to heal. Because healing needed is simply the ongoing manifestations of your own dissonance. Every time you look at the map instead of the world, every time you look at the collective human civilization instead of nature, it's just that. And with mantras, you are allowed to go past it, to open your awareness and connect to truth within. But then the job begins. Because then you have to heal the world around you, your world, which then offers a space of clarity for others. So becoming a clear instrument is not just for you. You are one cell in the body of life. But one cell can make all the difference if it vibrates truth. It takes dedication, right? Because in our current human civilization, all you are shown is disharmony. All you are shown are lies and corruption and new ways to cover up the pain instead of healing it. And even many of the healing tools are simply new ways to cover up the pain or even create more imbalance because they're based on what people make up instead of coming from a place of truth. It's just the human journey today. So, you have to be willing to do it for real. I'm not offering you a joyride. But the process of awakening is actually quite enjoyable once you stop looking at your map, right? Because this is the thing. Pain is when life is trying to show you there's a big stone there and it's not on your map. And you can say, well, I know what I'm doing, and then you walk straight into it. And life is just, well, it's right in front of you. So when we learn to do that for real, we will begin to embrace what life is trying to show us and how we need to navigate differently. And then we can be in harmony. We can be in balance. Although we're in a world of illusion and harm. Now, these mantras, because I often say that for the most part they are above your pay grade, so it also means that you have to stretch, which is the fun part. You cannot just normally just use the mantra. You will also have to be in front of the right door. Right? Many mantras are very kind of general. You can just use the mantra and you will feel something. That's the joyride part. But it's really about understanding that you need to be in a position in yourself so that you first are in front of the right door. Then you can use it. So how we do it is that there will be a teaching around the main principles around this mantra, basically explaining what is the space that this mantra represents. What door will you open? So you can kind of look for that space in yourself and try to understand the principles of what we're like practicing. And then you will use the mantra. So you need both. So they come with practices, teachings, principles, reflections, all of that. And then use the mantra to activate yourself in that space. And then you study and play and explore. And then the next month, it's a new one. Doesn't mean that now you're done. It's about kind of building your toolbox, building your kind of catalog of different approaches, and for you to be able to access as many spaces as possible and just like move your position. Remember that the human position is one. It's the map you have drawn. That is one position. And often, the human consciousness will be like, I am one thing. My consciousness is one thing. My journey is one thing. I believe this. This is how I think reality is. And to move past that, you can't just say, well, now I'm going somewhere else. You can't. You have to practice being in different positions, being in different spaces, different types of consciousness. So your brain goes, oh, there is more than one perspective. Right? Oh, there are infinite perspectives. You say, stand over there, things look different. And that is also what you achieve by working with mantras. Because the human self is so invested in its own current position, which is an evolutionary one, right? You have your path and just build, 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 and you get more and more convinced. So just going into different positions, different vibrations and spaces will help your mind and help your brain become more flexible when it comes to how you relate to your map. And then suddenly there will be a crack in the wall. Suddenly there will be a moment where you choose to look at nature instead of your map. Right? And you learn to zoom out and observe yourself and go inside and outside and here and there. And that movement of consciousness and position creates this flexibility in you. So you're less invested in whatever you think you know. And you get quite relaxed about your own version because you know that, well, whatever I think I know, that will change. So you learn to never want to win a discussion. Because comparing maps is really just fucking stupid. It's a complete waste of time if you want to wake up spiritually. because being right and truth are the opposites. So you grow out of that, because whatever I think, it will change. I will be more interested in exploring the positions I haven't been in yet, the angles I haven't discovered yet. So you're more interested in what you haven't learned instead of focusing on what you have learned. But that takes training the brain, training the ego, and having practices that allow you to explore without being limited by your own matrix. So, working with these mantras, it takes rigorous practice and dedication. Because if you believe that, yeah, I can just meditate a little bit and then I'll be past, all that illusion bullshit, you will not. It takes more than that. If you actually want to move past the walls of our own mind. As I always say, your outer wall, your outer world, is still the inner walls of our own mind. So how do you move past it, right? Spiritual practices is the only way. And I don't care what you do, as long as they work for you. Because it is getting the results. Because it's only when you're able to go past that wall that your awakening begins. Only then. It's like the seed sprouting. It's the first time the chicken, at the right moment when it's ready, starts hacking through the eggshell. And from that second, where the egg was the whole world, when the first little crack is there, from being the whole world is now just in the way. It can't get out of there fast enough, because then the chicken is ready. And so it is with you. And the more you work with the practices that connect you with what is beyond, and allow it in, and you surrender and work in different ways, it will happen. So these mantras will challenge you in new ways. They will open new doors you didn't even know existed. And hopefully it will also be fun, because as you get more drawn to what's beyond, instead of seeking confirmation for what you already know, you grow past suffering. And that is also how you begin to heal for real. That's how you begin to have irreversible results in your spiritual work. And that will begin to affect your life and other people. So in this work, we're really not into telling other people what they should do. It's easy enough to do that in this world now, because wherever you look, there's room for improvement, but often our own opinions feel, well, it should be like this, should be like, we didn't know. When we vibrate clarity and love, they will figure it out for themselves when they're ready. Healing has to come from within. Consciousness has to expand from within. It cannot happen by argument or someone being convinced, right? So I will never try to convince you of anything, because I know it doesn't work. My job is to assist you, if that is what you want, in going from a seed to a sprout, and then slowly growing into whatever plant or flower or tree that you truly are. But that's your journey. I don't get to decide that. I get to water. I get to kind of fertilize and take care of the soil. But it's none of my business what you are and what you're going into. And therefore, I cannot convince you of anything. It's just stimulating the natural process, natural growth of the journey that you already are. And this community is really about that. It's about supporting each other and completely respecting the autonomy and the integrity of each individual journey. So you can have the freedom to explore what you truly are, explore your potential, truth within, and what awakening is for you. And then we can share best practices. This is a difference between a spiritual tradition and a religion. Religion is, if you do this, if you believe that, and if you submit, then good things will happen to you, you dirty bastard. But a spiritual tradition is sharing best practices of what actually works when we try to connect with reality for real. So instead of just one individual, this worked for me. Okay, then we have thousands of people figure out what worked. And then other people can test it out, and then, some things work and some things don't. But we try to share what we figure out that is productive. Right? And this is how traditions work. So everyone has the full autonomy and the full freedom. And the tools I give you and the knowledge that I give you are what we share in this tradition. And then it's up to you to test it out and also learn how you may do so and figure out if it works for you or not. Because remember, even if I speak truth, you will never hear it. Because you can only hear according to your own level of consciousness. Because it has to come through you. This is always both a challenge, and to me, it's also beautiful. You can only hear what is in accordance to your actual point of evolution in your consciousness. So, whenever I say something and it resonates with me, okay, that's a starting point. It doesn't mean that you actually understood it yet. Because it's only when it's coming through you and you've tested it and you've grown into it and it's becoming something you're channeling, then it's true and then you actually get it. Which is why practices are so important. If we don't practice, it becomes belief. And then people can parrot what I say, right? As one often does. I see when studying with spiritual teachers, many students will try to replicate, what the teacher is saying and parrot and this and that, and then they seem very spiritual. But they don't actually understand it because it's not coming through them, because then it would be different words. It would be a whole different thing, right? So in this work, we don't do that. So you can take to heart what I say, but only as a starting point, and when you listen to what resonates, because, okay, then something is activated in you. Then you have to unpack. Then you have to study. Then you have to practice in your life and discover it for real. And only when you are then able to transfer that to someone else, and it ignites truth in them, in their path, their own way, it's only then you're actually vibrating it. Right? This is why in all true traditions, this is what we emphasize. This is why I believe we're not doing that. It is only true when you're able to transfer it in such a way that it promotes growth in someone else from the inside, without them even necessarily understanding it. To me, this is the most beautiful part of true spiritual work. It is happening inside of each and every one of you. Every single being in the universe. It has to be authentic. And then we nurture that process. And working with mantras will assist you in cleansing out the noise and the pain and the suffering of this world, and opening yourself up to the higher realities, higher perspectives, higher truth. And then let it incarnate in you, so you become that also as a human. right? Because I talked about this a lot, but one of the many misunderstandings that people often have when it comes to spiritual work is that they want to get out of here. They recognize their suffering, and the instinct says, well, then I should move, right? And in many religions and paths on this planet, it's really about getting out of here. So many Eastern philosophies is basically, how can we disconnect from this world and escape, right? It's trying to get away from the pain, numbing it until we feel nothing, and that's enlightenment. The moment we're successfully, completely disconnected, when we're living in a vacuum, we have won. It's understandable, but it's still self-medication, it's still pain control, pain management. And not understanding that the reason why the pain is there is because truth is showing you the distance between what you're currently vibrating and the truth that's standing right in front of you. The only way to heal is by balancing and harmonizing our world, our life, our bodies, all of it. Because that is the instrument that you can use to measure how close you are to truth. And of course, when there is no information, no textbooks, no school books, no homework, it's easy to say, well, I know it all now. There's nothing more to know, because where are the books? I know everything. Right? And this is often what happens when we want to run away. And that's part of the human instinct. And even more today, because of the collective pain and suffering, that we just want to numb the pain and just look at your own life. When you're being honest, and if you're able to be honest, you will see that you are having multiple self-medicational strategies going on at the same time. Everything that numbs, everything that gives you a break, it can be food, entertainment, just resting. It can be whatever, but when you see it's about disconnecting from your life because of the pain, that's what it is. It will not heal you. And it's more challenging today than ever. That's also why I talk so much about it. We have to master this world. It's not easier somewhere else. When you go into this blissful state, it's a state of ignorance. It's not a state of enlightenment. Enlightenment is being in absolute harmony with what is at all times, no matter what it is. You're able to adjust without compromising yourself, because you don't relate to the map anymore. So there's no, oh, my map is wrong. Well, what should I do now? You don't do that. It's just like, this is what it is. This is the dance. This is the music. And you're able to both compose and play and dance at the same time. And you're part of this infinite expansion, creation of the universe that never stops. That's what it is. And it has to start with your own life. And for most of us, it means, yeah, we have got work to do. That's why you incarnated. And you incarnated now on this planet, in this life form, because this is the best vehicle for your journey. Meaning that this exact point of your evolution, this exact body and place, is as close to truth as you've ever been. This also means that your resistance to it will also be the highest. Because the closer you get to truth, the clearer your own resistance and your misunderstandings will be. So, working with me does not mean that all of a sudden you walk around with this harmony. Talk to any student. You will be walking around with more clarity about your own mess, your own karma. And sometimes you may say, well, shouldn't this make me a better person? You know, what happened? I just feel I'm like, whatever I do, I'm just worse. And it's because it was always there, but now it's surfacing. And you have practices to deal with it. And gradually you can see all of the pressure is higher. You're also working it out. And you learn and you heal. But it's important to be realistic. By the way, if any of you have any questions or comments, especially if you're new to this work, just ask any question. I always say that all questions are equally stupid, so, you know, don't think about that, because like, if we just accept that question should be stupid because it's probably closer to what we actually want to know. When we try to come across as smart, we're too much in our head and we're often being dishonest because we're thinking about how other people may see us and want to position ourselves. Like all of that, just forget about it. Just like, what would you actually want to know? What is it you would like to know about this work? Or how to work with mantras, or how to get results spiritually? This is what we do. We're not playing games. We're not playing power games. We're not playing around with hierarchy or any of that. Although, as you will find out, students still are, because it's part of their karma. They're still, you know, but we're getting there. So if you have any questions whatsoever.
Yes, we received a question a little bit about meditation in general. This is a new student to the next cycle of IKYA Mantra. She's wondering, it's very easy to get distracted and disturbed in different ways during meditation. So how would you recommend going forward in this course to ground ourselves more effectively in meditation?
Now, if I think of spiritual work is not about running away. It's actually about becoming more aware of the work you need to do in order to heal. Do you understand the difference? Right? Because just seeking an energy of healing does not mean that you're healed. So once we engage in spiritual practices for real, we will be shown what work we need to do. And that may show us different imbalances. We may be triggered, and we thought, ooh, I'm in harmony, and all of a sudden you're like way out there. Right? Imbalance is not dangerous. And I've talked about this also extensively, but often in spiritual work, one seems to think that balance in itself is the point. That's how you demonstrate that you're advanced. When that becomes a thing, it will make you afraid. Because then it becomes about demonstrating to others, look how balanced I am. If you want to learn, you will be in a constant state of multiple imbalances. Because there will always be things you haven't learned, always things you haven't figured out. And balance is not being in balance, it's the ability to find balance from all angles. That's how you build strength. That's how it becomes real. That's how you're able to master life. So, we need to embrace imbalances and understand in spiritual work, it's not dangerous. And also working with me, understand that it's a protected space, just like in a school. Right? All experiments are controlled experiments. So you may feel that now everything, like, falling off the cliff. No, you're not. It will seem that way, but over time you'll say, oh, that didn't happen either. So the point is for you to figure it out, not to destroy you. Although sometimes you may wonder, right? Most students will sometimes they will have these thoughts, right? Is he really trying to kill me? It's like, how far can this go? And then you say, well, okay, well, nothing happened, and okay, I'm smarter now. So we have to include imbalance, sometimes severe imbalance, as part of figuring it out because it's not dangerous. And sometimes life says, well, you have practiced, finding balance in the easy way. So let's see, if we place you a little bit farther away from the goalpost, what happens then? And then we freak out. Right, so you're not in balance, then are you? Right? And then you have to find your way. So the ego, this is very unfair because I normally can do this, and hadn't it been for this work, I would be in balance. No, you would not. You would be in a, small scale consciousness. So balance always starts with imbalance. Because imbalance is simply you being in a space that you haven't figured out yet. Right? So you fumble around because you haven't figured it out. And that's fine. We need to include that in the journey. Sometimes it lasts, 5 seconds, sometimes 5 years, sometimes several lifetimes. Sometimes all of it at the same time, which is more normal. And then we just recognize that, well, it's just, of course, when I'm presented with what I haven't learned yet, the next level of my study. Well, of course I don't know it. That's the whole point. Right? The ego goes, well, there must be something wrong with me because I don't know it already. And then we create all these stories around that. But if you think of, a kid going to school and actually being excited about learning, seeing a brand new textbook for the next school year is exciting. Everything you haven't learned yet. Right? Now we go from adding 2 apples to 7. Ooh, it's an upgrade. And it's that, right? It's the excitement over what we haven't learned. But that also always means that, you will be presented by not just the information, but how it feels. What it's like to live in that state of not knowing. You have to experience it. And then we say, oh, I'm out of balance. Oh, life is falling apart. No, it's not. So it's that we need to include as it's completely safe. Life is not trying to harm you. It's trying to heal you. It's our own resistance. The way we hold on to our own definitions, even our own pain. One thing that's really funny to me is what humans hold on to the most are the things that are not working for you. Those are the things you hold on to, right? The things that work for you, you don't hold on to those. We hold on to the things that don't work for us. And when life is offering, well, you can give that and get something, then we fight. So we have this weird instinct to hold on to whatever is not working for us. Because our pain creates identity. And the moment we have identity, we need the paraphernalia and the manifestations that can justify and be the foundation for this identity. So once pain is internalized, you hold on to what is not working, because that's now your story. So learn to not hold on to what is not working for you. And I have these conversations with all students many times, showing them that what they're holding on to is actually something that they've claimed they don't want anymore, until we offer them to release it. So release it. Embrace the new textbooks. Embrace what life can show you instead. Right? So all states, from the darkest to the lightest, the most balanced, imbalanced, health, unhealth, it's all part of it. It's all part of the vocabulary of your own divine conversation. So how to ground ourselves is basically let go of your expectations about what spiritual work is. Let go of the expectation of, oh, I need to be in balance at all times. Don't fear your own kind of landscapes. When you walk through nature, you will be on a trail, suddenly it's in a puddle, then you walk through a bush, you walk uphill, downhill. That's the enjoyment. Right? It's interacting with real life and real life in you. It is our religiousness that make us fear our own meeting with life. Because at least our maps can be true. Right? And it's just that. once we realize that we have to embrace everything and see everything as part of the healing journey, and everything is needed for my awakening, and only what can bring me to balance and harmony and healing will be presented. But everything is a riddle. Everything is the meeting between my misunderstanding and what life is showing me instead. And the healing is me trying to figure it out. But that's also what I need to do. So in this work, we don't end the practices with meditation and inner work. We also have the life practices, which is learning to utilize our outer life as one continuous spiritual practice. Over time, you will get it, because you will start seeing how the teachings are manifesting in your life, and how your life will become an increasingly training ground for your spiritual awakening. And then you see, oh, I can be an active part of this. I'm not just listening, I'm also talking. And then you realize that you are in the middle of a conversation, but you are not paying attention. So when you begin to be someone actively communicating with life, you'll start to see that it's an ongoing conversation. And then it's fun. And also, we move into the state where we're always aware of the divine presence. We focus on what actually is. And we throw the maps away. And we find the joy in exploring instead of letting nature define itself. And that's how we also find grounding. You cannot find grounding on a map. That sounds logical, right? And yet, that is what all humans do. This is why human grounding, for the most part, is not grounding. True grounding can only happen in the real world, which is why people feel more grounded when they're out in nature, right? So it's learning that, also spiritually. When you feel like a grounding, it's because you're looking at your map, trying to find grounding in what you think you know. We have to surrender that. We have to go past it. We have to allow life for what it is, to show itself to us, and for us to just surrender to it. We can only find true grounding in what actually is. And over time, we learn that. And then we figure out, once we have surrendered to nature, and we're beginning to understand what it is, we feel grounded all the time, because wherever we go, our feet are touching the actual ground. We're walking in actual nature, no matter where we are, no matter what life is showing us. Whatever the challenges are, our feet are touching the real ground. So we can then feel grounded, although we're way off the goalpost. And we're not afraid, because we're in reality. So, that is the only true way to find grounding.
Yes, we have another question on Zoom.
It's her first.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Is it working? Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm completely new, and I'm curious about how does the work look like? You say working with me is...
Yeah.
So how does that look like?
Okay. Now, working with me means that you come to the classes, right? So we have teachings and workshops and all of that. And then we also have all the teachings available online. So you can also then listen and watch. And then we have study groups. If you want to take part in those, you can also study by yourself, interacting with people in the community, so you can really kind of break down and practice and go deeper. And then you practice in your life, and you meditate, and you also have whatever practices you like, whether it's yoga, tai chi, whatever works for you. but you try to then use the teachings in a very active way, and then gradually also build more of an active, conscious dialogue with me, because there's one layer of the teachings I can do right here, but think of me also being able to be a kind of narrator in your actual life while it's happening. And it's very simple. It's the tuning fork thing, as we talked about. Once you study with me, the tuning fork that I am will begin to affect your evolutionary process. And then the dissonance will be part of that conversation. And is basically how this consciousness operates. Like whenever that is being activated, I am there. And it's, when you think of the human understanding of how things work, how is that possible? But when you take away the human narrative and the human story of isolation and separation, understand life is one. Being everywhere is the default. Being conscious everywhere is the default once you go to a higher level. So this is completely natural. And in the beginning, when you talk to me, it is a mix of your own fantasy, your own imagination, your own mind, and also what I communicate. And that's okay, right? Over time, though, you will be able to notice there's a difference in vibration. So you can recognize, right, this has the quality of my own mind. This, however, is something else. And gradually you will be able to filter out more of your own mind, and we can have a clearer conversation, but it's up to your own level of clarity, right? Because when you have a mind that is spinning and filtering, it doesn't matter what I communicate via the inner channels. By the time you become aware of it, it has been filtered so many times that will still, for the most part, be a confirmation of what you already think you know. So it's also a process of cleansing your inner channels. And how you relate to me is very simple. Think of me as a sports coach and you wanting to be an Olympic athlete. You're the athlete. My job is to improve your technique and make sure that you win. You still have to do the running. You still have to apply my suggestions to how you may improve your technique. But that's up to you. There is no hierarchy, because in this work, an absolute foundational premise is oneness, and that we're the same. So the joy of the coach is to see the athletes getting results, because that's the coach's job. The coach is no longer an athlete, but will use that experience to develop the talents in others. So there is no worship, there's no hierarchy, it's just like a collaboration on how to get results. Because when you grow in your consciousness, that is how the universe expands. And this is why all spiritual beings, what we do is to promote growth in others, because that is how life keeps expanding. So spiritual beings, as I always say, we are more invested in your awakening than you are. Just like when a coach sees a talent, he may be more invested in the development of that talent than that young kid. That's how it works, but it's natural. So it's a collaboration, understanding that this is just how it works. So it's still in full respect of your autonomy. And I say, if anyone submits to me, I will kick them out because it's too childish. You would not worship a sports coach, right? That's just dumb. It gets in the way because that's just games. If you want results, you will listen and apply the techniques and then you'll win. So it's more of that type of relationship. but it's one of love. And the more you go into this work, the more you will understand and also peel away your religiousness. Because when people come to me, they've gone through all sorts of religions and teachers and all of that, not just in this lifetime, but in general. And normally when people come to me, they're done. They feel they're done with all of that. And at the same time, it's all they know. So it's natural that your mind for years and years will throw all that at me and try to figure out what is this guy? And I can assure you, if you turn me into a fantasy of what you think a spiritual being is, the pendulum will have to swing the other way and turn me into the fantasy of the worst person you've ever seen. Because it's all in your fantasy. Right? Because it's basically showing the photo negative. Because it's not true. Life is oneness. Learning to relate to me as simply a presence, as a tuning fork, and where you can mirror yourself and tune yourself, get closer to truth in you. That's what it's for. Right? But often it takes a while to purify all of that other stuff. But that's okay. But it's important to understand that the intention here is to move past all religiousness, all hierarchy, all of these power games, because that's not what spiritual work is. It's the work. It's the growth, it's the healing, it's the love, it's the results. And teaching you to respect yourself, to respect your integrity and your uniqueness as a spiritual being and discover what that is. And that cannot be done if you copy, if you submit, if you follow. It can only happen when you grow out of that. And then show others how to do it too. So that's kind of how it works. Mm-hmm.
Great. We've got Akshay on Zoom.
Hello. Thank you for the wonderful message that you delivered today. I just have a simple question. I want to know is it always necessary to follow spiritual practice as a separate thing of its own, or can I also reach wholeness just by trying to live life through ups and downs wholeheartedly? Maybe slowly it will take me there, but can that also be a way?
Right. Today, it's absolutely necessary and essential to also do one spiritual practice as a separate thing. And I compare that to think of a violinist. First, you tune your instrument and then you play. Because the life practices are basically testing out. First you have to tune and then you live. If you just live and try to figure out, there will be so many discrepancies. There will be so many ways you are out of tune and you will not even notice because your consciousness is already bound by the illusion. You have to be in a different state to discover your own illusion. You can only see something when you're past it. When you are in harmony with an illusion, it's sound cancellation. So when you are in vibration, complete harmony with an illusion, even though it's right in front of you, you can't see it because it's your identity. So you are vibing with it, therefore you can't see it. And this is often the thing, when students say, and this is like all students, you know this. Year after year, you come to me and say, I can't believe I couldn't see this before now. Only today I get it. Right? Because all of a sudden they have grown past something and then they can see it. So there has to be a difference in vibration before we can see the manifestation of illusion. So when we just start your day, your manifestations, the illusions and what you need to study, you're already in harmony with that, meaning that you are out of tune, but you can't see it. So when we start with our spiritual practices, we tune our instrument, and then we will vibrate differently than the manifestations in our life. And then we can say, aha, there it is. And we can see the illusion. We can also see sometimes what we need to do with it. So, we can only observe something once we're past it vibrationally, right? And that's it. Often, as I said, when we live and then we do just the practice at night, it means first we live and we can't see our illusions. And then often at night, we will be more prone to want to heal the suffering. Because we experience our own illusion, but we can't see it. And then we say, oh, God, please guide me. I don't understand anything. Of course you don't. You started your day vibrating the same as your illusions. And now you just suffer and then you want to be healed. Call me when you're ready, right? Which is in the morning. And it's that. And understanding that, having a rigorous spiritual practice, and you're really doing it, it allows you to see more of what you then need to work on and heal. Right? So you can just walk around life and figure it out, because you will, but it will be a lot slower. Right? So we need both. Because basically the higher the state and the kind of clearer the state you're able to achieve through practices, the more surgically you will be able to notice, identify, and deal with the karmic manifestations in your life. Right? So that's how it works.
I've been in on 5, 6, and now likely 7. I know there's others in the room who have all of them. But my point was that I sensed that 5 had a certain vibe, certain outcome, certain facets that were more linear in a sense upwards. The 6 has been a little more leaps and bounds and back and forth. And I do wonder, since you speak of we're not here to hide in our meditation cave, but to be in the world while doing the work and bridge the gap, and also use the life and work as a sounding board for what we should address. So how will 7 be especially focused in that direction, or what is the peculiarities of 7 in regard to bridging the gap?
Right. Remember that how the characteristics of the different kind of spirals or cycles or collections, how they manifest is basically also where the collective consciousness of the students are at, because it's also a kind of journey. So it's like where you get on the train, that's where the train is in its journey. And this part of the movement is more of exactly that. It's more how we can be a presence in the world, right? It's also because it's needed. If you have, eyes and ears, you are noticing what's happening on the planet. And it means we have to step out of the selfishness in spiritual work. Many people talk about, oh, I want to serve, but it's just narcissism. It's the thought and idea of being important. That's not service. And I will teach you, if that's what you want, how to become someone who makes a spiritual difference for real. And it's often very different from the glamour shots or how the ego wants it to be. But the part of having the confidence to carry this into the world will be a stronger element this time also, because that's the level of maturity among the students, right? So this is a kind of ongoing journey, right? And when you join, it's because that's where you get on, right? You take the train from where you are, not from somewhere else, right? And now the train is stopped at where you are, and this is where you get on. So it's just, that's just how it is, and it's an ongoing journey. But there will be an emphasis of that this year.
Okay, we have a question on Zoom. Let's see. Where did it go? Sandra, your question.
Hi, Kaya. I would love to hear, where do the mantras you teach come from? And why do they work on a deeper level than mantras from old traditions? So, and are your mantras you teach from a specific tradition, or how does that work?
Yes, this is a specific tradition. It exists many places, and in many ways, I don't talk too much about that because for humans turn everything into religion, turn it into and it is, I try to avoid using what you cannot verify for yourself as a way to verify, because then it's down to your belief or trust. You don't have to trust me. It's not about that. I give you things that you can test out and they will work or not. But yes, this tradition is all over. So when we say that these mantras come from this tradition, if you think of this tradition existing in many dimensions, many places, remember that this planet is so small. Tiny, tiny, tiny planet in a tiny galaxy. Again, there are trillions of galaxies just in this one universe. There's life everywhere. There's spiritual work everywhere in different ways. And this is a tradition that often is, because it's science-based, and you will, if you're new to this work, you will find out. I have a tendency to include a bit of science because it's fun. To me, if it's not compatible with science, you're way off, because science is how also the collective mind of humans are trying to figure out what actually works. So you test and you try to build models and understanding. So, but over time, when you're on your spiritual journey, you often start with beliefs and you start with religiousness and this and that, and you make up your gods, and because you're just trying to figure things out. But over time, at some point, you will transcend that. And the one common denominator that you will find in any being, any place, any tradition, any whatever it is, at some point it becomes about giving back. And you can see that among religious people in whatever tradition, whatever spiritual path they're on, when they actually practice and when they actually do the work, at some point they transcend the beliefs. And their connection with what is, and their real awakening begins to happen. From that moment on, it's all about giving back. And this is also what we often call service. This is a path of service. And once you get to that path, it doesn't matter where you came from. All you want to do is to learn more about how to give back, how to move even closer to what is, and how to serve it. And mature spiritual traditions are only about that. And then it doesn't matter what you call it. And this is the same as if you take people from different religions and paths, and when they reach that level, and you put them in one room, they will all agree on everything. Because they understand that, oh yeah, that's just my culture, that's just how we frame it. But they recognize that there is an essence of truth, and that's what they're working with. That is what has transformed them. So this is a path that is kind of working on that level. So, but within this tradition, because it exists everywhere, there are, infinite amount of beings and teachers and this or that. It's not been as available in this planet. It exists everywhere. But it's also a matter of bringing consciousness on a planet to that level. And what we're seeing now for a long time is that humans are gradually willing to grow out of their beliefs. And many who incarnate on this planet now are coming from other planets, other realities, and incarnating as humans to be part of this great shift, because the old consciousness, the old civilization on this planet is dying, and it has to. And at the same time, a new one is also born. And they belong to that one. So instead of things dying out of this whole planet being destroyed, it's that culture with its belief systems, and basically humans look the same, but will have more advanced souls incarnating, and that's also what's happening. And then this type of tradition is more logical. Because so many incarnate and they already know that when they look at human religions, it's like, what the fuck? That's just, childishness. They can look at what humans are doing spiritually and they already see right through it and they have no interest. And there are many students who have come to me and they've never in this lifetime been involved with so-called spiritual work because they see right through it. I often say that modern spiritual work is just organized narcissism. It's just, fantasies and self-absorbed bullshit. And many people are seeing right through that. And when they come to me, they have no, experience. And when they begin to do the work, they just accelerate very quickly because they already know. They've done it before. So they're just basically plowing through from 0 to 100 very fast, and they have very little resistance to it. So it's important to understand, just like math, where does that come from? It doesn't come from anywhere, it's just a fact. Physics, where does that come from? It's just a fact. No matter what reality, culture you're in, one will figure out the same thing. All cultures on this planet began discovering math. When the religion is gone, it never comes back. Then they come up with a new one because it's fantasy, right? So also spiritual work, when you work with spiritual principles, these traditions is always something that individuals at some point will get to. So this tradition in that respect does not come from anywhere. And these mantras are just like part of it. And also because they operate beyond the human collective consciousness and the human narratives and human history, it allows you also to connect to the knowledge that you are bringing with you. Remember that, you all have incarnated to be part of that shift on this planet. And yet, once you're in a human body, you forget everything. But sometimes you still have this tingling sensation that, wasn't I supposed to do something, And some also know, I'm here, I have a very important message, a very important mission. But what is it, right? So working with these mantras will also assist you in opening that channel and opening those memories so that kind of your job and your mission is in assisting the planet will become an active, breathing reality in you. Because it's like once you're here and once you get connected to the current human civilization, it's game over. And I've seen it so many times. Individuals with, before incarnating, they were like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then they completely underestimate the power of this civilization. And they get pulled into it. And then they are in enormous pain. Because this is all wrong. Everything feels wrong. I'm in the wrong body, wrong planet, wrong everything. And yet they have no idea how to get out of it because now their body and brain has adjusted to it. So they have imprisoned themselves because they forgot. So working with these mantras will also help you unlock your spiritual mission, why you are here, how you can assist for real, how you can grow into a state of service as a human, how to be here and to be relevant in a way that is also relevant to other people. It's all of that. So these mantras work differently. As I say, it's based on, we introduce these mantras based on what is happening on this planet right now. And for those of you who want to wake up for real, and when you want to wake up and you know that truth is already inside of you, you just have to be inspired to remember. And this is often when I teach most students, their experience, I already know this. Oh, I know all of this already. Yes, because you do. It's the activation of the knowledge you're bringing with you. Right? And then it's your job, once that's been activated, to also assist others. Because there are millions upon millions on this planet who are going around and they have a mission, they have no idea, but they know it was something. Right? So it's then also for all of you to try to be instrumental in that true awakening. And this is what this work is for. So Again, the practice we do, the mantras, the teachings, the intention, how we build this culture is not connected to human traditions at all.
We have Sandra on Zoom. 1 second. There we go.
Now you talked a lot about illusion and truth, and how is it connected to like the normal life in being triggered? Is this also illusion, and how do mantras help in dealing more with being triggered?
Well, that's an excellent question, because like being human means being going around and being triggered, right? I have talked a lot about humans being a life form that only reacts. It's all a normal human does. Things happen, then we react, and then we adapt based on that reaction. Reaction, 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 which is what we call the horizontal consciousness. It's a biological consciousness that is then limited and bound to horizontal biological evolution, and that will also be the spiritual journey. And when we're being triggered, it's the activation of something that is already inside of you that you're not aware of. This is why we're in denial, because if you weren't in denial, you would have done something about it already. So how one does it in the low consciousness is someone will poke at you and trigger you, and then you will see, you did this to me, because you will associate your reaction to it's that person. Although it's in you, nothing can happen to you really. So your reaction is in that exact point that resonates with the imbalanced action or whatever it is, because it's in you already. And the denial means that you're being triggered, which is exactly how it can be activated in the low consciousness. So being triggered is simply a sign that, yeah, you're in denial. This is why we incarnate together, because we're not really good at activating our own karma. Again, when we're vibrating in harmony with it, we can't see it. So it takes someone else to say, aha, and then we become aware of it. And through that conflict, it flows to the surface. And then, as I said, we always become the energy of what we react to, which is the activation energy of that karmic blockage. So, back to what I explained about spiritual practices and mantras is how you then are able to lift your consciousness so that those manifestations and blockages may become tangible, visible, and something you can interact with, and you can see what they are, instead of looking for something that's completely invisible to you for all senses. So it's that. And then over time, you will love the triggers, because you know that I cannot activate my own karma. So we'll run around to be able to poke me, right? Because you want to figure it out. Because, you know, for me to heal, first I need to become aware of my wound. And then I have to heal. So I will be grateful to whoever is poking me, because I couldn't do that on my own. So we change your attitude into gratitude and love towards those who trigger us instead of attacking them. And over time, we don't react, because reaction comes from the denial. We just become aware, this hit me there. That's interesting. What is life trying to show me? Where is the healing potential? Because I know when something's activated, life has already shown me, it's already in my space, what it takes to heal. What is that? So you don't fight your own healing, because when you fight the one you're triggered by, you're fighting your healing. Back to, we hold on to what doesn't work for us. So over time, we grow past that, right? But as you all know, this is one of the things that humans find very difficult. You can reach what you will consider high levels of consciousness and you will still be triggered. Until one day, you're not. But that's how it is. It's also part of the healing journey.
Do not have any more questions online. Any more in the audience here?
Well, it's wonderful that you know everything now. I think still, you know, in this work, it is important, again, to don't take things too seriously. Don't take this work too seriously. Because there is no reason why you should take anything seriously. It's just joy and exploration. And this also, when we let go of religiousness, we let go of taking things seriously, because like the power religion has is that it's very serious. Right? Once it's just exploration, joy, and playfulness, we can allow ourselves to be out of balance, face down in the mud, whatever, and we just laugh, because it's not dangerous. We will not be judged. There are things to be, you know, figured out, but it's not serious. So try to bring with you into this work a sense of joy and adventure. And with a sense of humor, everything is easier. And I always try to show you that nothing is serious, especially your suffering. Because your suffering is just the story that it should have been like that. And you're like, well, it isn't. Right? And once we see it, we move out of suffering. But every time you suffer, it's that. And at some point, you will be able to laugh at yourself when you're producing suffering, because you know this is just bullshit. You know. So a sense of humor is really important. Did we have
no more questions?
No more questions. Yes, I think we can go to that part, and then we'll be both practical information and also talk a little bit about what this work is like. Will it just be the two of you, or?
Nora, Ina, and me, plus Jan.
Wonderful. Okay, so I will move out of your way then. For those of you who are new, I will stay on after. So if any of you have any kind of personal questions or things you want to ask me about, but only if you're new to this work, I will still be here after, like down there, up here. I'm easy to find. So, okay. Mm-hmm.
Not like this.
If there are any of you online that have questions, raise your hand and we'll allow you to ask questions of IKYA.
Yes. And are we all unmuted?
I don't know.
You need to unmute. Okay. So just briefly again here at the end, we won't keep you guys too much longer, but my name's Andy and I'm your operations manager in the middle of kind of everything administrative.
My name is Nora. I work with the Ganapati coordinating program.
I'm Jannica and I teach yoga here, and I'll say a little bit about that afterwards.
Okay. And I'm Ina and I'm one of the Ganapatis, and I'm also a contact person for new students.
Excellent. So we're here because, you know, studying with IKYA is not just you alone in your own spiritual journey. It is wonderful to have a community and other students to study with, because we learn a lot more when we try to put words to what we believe we're understanding or learning and share it with each other.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And we have a study program, so we can go deeper if you want to. And we connect in social events and events here on the center, but also a summer party out in the open, and also online events. Mm-hmm. And that's part to build a community and build a culture, like IKYA shared. It's best practice sharing. And I can't figure out what you figure out, so we have to share and combine and be together to build this strongly. Mm-hmm. Also for you onliners, it's really important that you feel confident in connecting online on the platform. And you have had hosts today online as well, and that's part of what we want to show, that we are doing this together.
Mm.
And also there's an aspect of the teachings that is really cyclical, and things that play out in my life will also play out in Andy's life, but in a very different way. And sometimes it can be kind of, you can get stuck in thinking, I can't handle this. But that when we share with each other, which is a really important aspect of the teachings, to make use of each other, I can figure out that he's going through the same, and we're sort of, it becomes obvious that we're dealing with this. We're working our way through this, but we're doing it very differently. And just knowing that is also part of the communal service, I think.
Yeah. And so as fellow students, we try to support each other, and unique to the mantra course, we have one teaching with IKYA, and then the second time we gather is actually a workshop where some of us Ganapati, and Ganapati is Sanskrit, and it really means kind of team leader. And it's really just that some of the students here as studying with IKYA are practicing what is it like to be a leader in a community, to be more visible, to be more available, to support other students, and in that way learn more also about ourselves. So we do that, then we host a workshop where we, as a couple of Ganapati, we go into, okay, well, how have these principles that we've been working with this mantra, how have they been playing out in our life? And how can we better understand it by, again, putting words to it, sharing it with each other, mirroring each other.
It's a lovely concept. And then we have breakout rooms so we can go into your versions of what's going on.
Yeah.
At the end.
So we are, and then we have also IKYA meditation and yoga to help you practice outside of the mantra course. Jannica?
Yeah, so every Thursday at 6 o'clock we have yoga, and we also include a little bit of IKYA meditation, and it's in this room. And yes, you are welcome if you just want a break. You can still come, but you can also figure out a lot of things while doing yoga or practicing. It's a practice as well. Famous or pretty well-known quote about yoga is, it's not about touching your toes, but what you learn on the way down. So you can learn a lot about yourself while practicing yoga, while you're stretching your hamstring. All those thoughts, those the patterns that show up, they're very often the same patterns that happen in life. So you can learn things on the mat and take it out into the world, and you might actually, during yoga, notice things that, ooh, this is what I need to work on. So you're welcome. If you're in we try to fit it together with a mantra and crystal course somewhat. But if you're not in any of those, if you're not ready for that yet, you're still welcome, and then maybe one day you will be ready.
Yeah.
And we also, it's good for the community. We have talks afterwards, and it's, it's really lovely.
This week you have a special edition.
Yes, tomorrow. There's a special edition. Or actually, Vibeke, fellow student as well, is coming and doing a laughter meditation. So that's at 5:30. Laughter is very good for mind, body, and soul, releasing hormones and everything. And so we'll have that before, and just kind of, basically it's 15 minutes of laughing. How bad can that be?
But what we're really trying to highlight for you is that when you study with IKYA, either in the crystal course or the mantra course, we provide a whole basket of tools and opportunities for you to study, and it's up to you how you want to do it. If you want to use, 99% of your day studying spirituality, we have the tools to do it. And then if you want to do a little less than that, you can also do that. But it's also to find what works best for you. If it's IKYA meditation on Sundays, that's an additional tool. Yoga with Jannica. If it's this study gatherings and the workshops that we have, we're going to also pair you up with a tuning buddy trio, which basically means 2 other students in the course. You'll have the option, not a requirement, but an option to have 2 other students that you have closer contact with, to be able to discuss things when they come up, and to again go more deeply into your study. So we've got lots for you to choose from.
Yep.
And I think that's probably about it for right now. The most practical thing is the date. The 28th of October is the big day that the introductory teaching for IKYA Mantra 7 begins. And so sign up before then. Reminder, online we have a team of 4 Ganapatis for you guys on Zoom who will remain for a half an hour after we finish here. Also, everybody here, feel free to stay as long as you want. IKYA is still here. Again, new students, please go talk with them directly if you'd like. Otherwise, you've got experienced students around you to ask questions, and please hang out as long as you guys want. Any other things you guys want to add?
I just want to say, maybe in the role as a contact person also, but you are never alone. And when IKYA says, you can touch upon some rough patches, there's always someone you can reach out to. There's always someone there for you. And really encourage participants to make use of us, because that's why we're here.
Yeah, and I also
Can
want
you
to
use
thank.
it? You're still muted, so you need that.
I'm muted. Okay, I didn't know. I also want to thank everyone online. There are many satellite events all over the world right now connecting. So we are here in the room physically with IKYA, but to connect online is also part of the new platform moving forwards. And I really want to thank you. I hope you enjoy this session online as well, because it's so much learning from having a live teach and a VIP opportunity to sit with IKYA like this evening has been.
Absolutely. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Remember, online, they're sticking with you for half an hour, and here in the center, we're also here. So stick around and chat and ask all the questions that you might have. But thank you so much for joining us tonight.